Hi, Mystery Recapped here. Today, I'm going to explain a sci-fi romance movie called The Shape of Water. Spoilers ahead. Watch out and take care. The film begins in the early 60s in Baltimore as a young, mute woman named Elisa Esposito wakes up on her couch. She has a very routine life. Every morning she prepares breakfast, takes a shower, and pleasures herself in the bathtub. Before heading to work, she always pays a visit to her neighbor, Giles. Elisa works night shift at the OCOM Aerospace Research Center as a janitor alongside her friend Zelda Fuller. She is a simple girl who goes about her business and doesn't cause any trouble at work. One night, the floor manager gathers all the staff and announces that the center will soon be receiving a very important asset. He reveals that Dr. Richard Hofstetler has been appointed as the head of the biology department and will conduct several experiments on the asset. However, unbeknownst to anyone present there, Hofstetler is actually a Russian spy. Soon afterwards, the asset arrives in a pressurized tank, along with a government agent, Richard Strickland. He is a tough, uncompromising officer and quickly takes over as the center's new chief of security. The staff then gets back to their stations and resumes their usual work. Shortly after, a curious Elisa hears strange growling noises from the tank and takes a peek inside. Turns out the asset is a strange creature which becomes agitated when she touches the tank. It then smacks the glass hard, prompting the security to immediately relocate it to a secure lab. The following night, Elisa and Zelda are busy sorting out the garbage in the center. Everything seems to be normal until the door of the lab where the asset was taken swings open. Chief of Security Strickland then comes out of the lab with his hands covered in blood. While other scientists and a few medical professionals rush over to help him, Zelda drags Elisa away from the scene. Later, during dinner break, the two friends chat about what they witnessed earlier, but their conversation is soon interrupted by the floor manager, who orders them to clean the lab. Shortly after, the duo reaches the lab, only to find it in an awful, bloody state. But they stick to their job and begin mopping up the floor. Suddenly, Elisa finds Strickland's severed fingers on the ground and quickly puts them in a paper bag. Zelda then goes to get a manager, which gives Elisa a chance to finally see the asset. It is then revealed that the asset is actually a human-like amphibian, which is kept in captivity inside a small tank. Minutes later, when the manager arrives, she gives him the paper bag with Strickland's fingers. The mute janitor, however, is beginning to get curious about the strange creature. It lives in water. She touches herself in water. This could be the beginning of something beautiful. The following evening, Elisa heads to work and immediately goes to the laboratory. She hears the amphibian man swimming in a small pool and devises a clever way to make him emerge. Elisa takes out a boiled egg from her lunch bag, sits on the pool's edge, and cracks it open with a spoon. Just as she planned, the creature slowly sticks his head above the water and approaches her. Elisa then puts the egg down on the edge and gestures at the amphibian man to pick it up. To her delight, he calmly grabs the egg before jumping back into the water. In the next scene, Strickland calls Zelda and Elisa into his office. He is a very shrewd man and wants to thoroughly vet all the staff working in the center. He wants to know more about them and has taken a keen interest in Elisa's past. Through his research, he has come to know that she was abandoned as a baby on the banks of a river. Strickland then notices that she has scars on her neck and asks if they have anything to do with her being mute, but Elisa gestures that she doesn't think so because she wasn't able to speak even as a child. Before they leave, Strickland tells them to keep away from the creature in the lab. It is then revealed that he captured the beast in South America and dragged it back to the US. He cautions the janitors that the creature may look similar to a human, but it is still a monster. Nonetheless, Elisa continues to be intrigued by the creature. She regularly visits the lab after the scientists have left with an excuse of cleaning the place. One evening, Elisa takes out a small record player from her bag and places it next to the pool. She then plays music for the amphibian man and serves him a single egg. If he takes the egg without surfacing, she pauses the music to make him come out. Surely enough, the amphibian man pokes his head out and grunts in irritation. Elisa is excited by her little discovery, and she unpauses the record as a reward. She eventually teaches him the sign for music, which the creature learns surprisingly fast. Their dates continue for several days, and the duo even begins dancing together. One night, while bringing the creature dinner, Hofstetler notices the janitor grooving with the amphibian man, but he doesn't interrupt them as he realizes that the strange creature is capable of feeling complex emotions, just like humans. Following this, he contacts his real bosses and arranges a meeting waiting at a secure location. A Soviet agent then arrives to meet him, and Hofstettler shares all his notes on the creature, as well as a blueprint of the labs. Around this time period, the Cold War is reaching its end, but the Soviets still want to kidnap the creature from the Americans. Hofstettler is adamant about going forward with the plan as soon as possible because he thinks the creature is an intelligent being with the ability to communicate. In the meantime, Elisa continues her work, taking care of the laundry for the facility. Two technicians who are repairing a security camera chat with each other while working. From their conversation, she learns how these cameras can be disabled if needed. Later, Elisa enters the lab, only to find the creature chained up and badly wounded. She rushes to help him, but then hears footsteps coming towards the lab. This prompts her to hide behind a desk, and she watches on as Strickland arrives. He goes straight to the creature and starts torturing him, leaving Elisa severely disturbed. A few days later, a U.S. Army general arrives at Occam, where Strickland has organized a presentation on the amphibian man. The general is immediately stunned by the size and look of the creature. Strickland reveals that he found him in the Amazon forests, where the native tribes worshipped him like a god. Hofstettler, who is also present there, tells the general that the creature can alternate between two separate breathing mechanisms. This makes him a very unique living organism that can help future scientific progress. As the presentation drags on, Hofstettler realizes that the amphibian man is having difficulty breathing as he's been out of the water for too long. He pleads with Strickland to get him back in the water, but the agent refuses and continues with his speech. After a while, the amphibian man eventually passes out, prompting the soldiers to take him into the pressure tank. Outside, Elisa hears the general talk to the scientists about his plan for the amphibian man. She cautiously follows them back to Strickland's office and overhears that the creature will soon be killed and dissected. That night, a frightened Elisa tries to acquire Giles's help to get the creature out of the facility. The middle-aged man initially laughs her off as he thinks she's joking about the amphibian man, but she is determined to help and reveals everything that she has seen at Occam. Upon hearing this, Giles eventually agrees, as he has known Elisa for a long time, and she has never lied to him. By this point, it is obvious that the mute girl loves the amphibian man. This is because he sees her the way no one has ever seen her before, as a person with no deficiencies. Meanwhile, Hofstettler meets with his associates again and informs them that the creature will soon be dissected. The Soviets fear that if the Americans are allowed to go forward with this, they might achieve a generational scientific breakthrough. Thus, the Soviet authorities order Hofstettler to disrupt the facility's power and use the distraction to kill the creature. Elsewhere, Elisa sits down with her neighbor and goes over their plan to free the creature from the lab. Giles prepares a vehicle to make it look like one of the laundry vans that do pickups from the facility. He plans to use fake documents to get to the lab by 5 a.m. As for Elisa, she has to take care of the security cameras and get the creature out in a laundry cart. But, unbeknownst to them, Hofstettler is preparing a poison to kill the creature. He is clearly unhappy about it, but knows there is no other option. That night, after almost everyone has gone home, Hofstettler goes to the office of the chief of security. There, he meets Strickland and makes a final plea not to kill the magnificent creature, but the latter refuses, and the two men break into an argument. While Strickland is distracted by the quarrel, Hofstettler sees something strange in one of the monitors. He notices Elisa moving a security camera and suddenly remembers where he had seen her before. This is the same girl that he had seen dancing with the amphibian man. He realizes that she is trying to free the creature and decides to help her instead. Following this, the covert Russian spy heads to the lab where the amphibian man is kept. Elisa also arrives a few minutes later with a laundry cart. To her surprise, the scientist gives her the keys to the chains that are tied around the creature's neck. He then hands her a special mixture to put in the water to keep him alive. Furthermore, he also tells her that he'll disable the power, giving her 5 minutes to run away. Next, Elisa gets the amphibian man out of the pool, frees him, and rolls him into the cart. Outside, Giles arrives at Occam's gate, but is stopped by a security guard. Strickland also notices the van on his CCTV monitor and suspects something is fishy. At this crucial moment, Hofstettler cuts the power to the entire facility and runs towards the main gate. On the other hand, Zelda finds Elisa near the lab and helps her sneak the creature towards the loading dock. Meanwhile, Hofstettler reaches the main gate before Strickland. He then sneaks behind the security guard and smacks his head with a metal rod. This allows Giles to get to the loading dock, where the girls are already waiting with the amphibian man. They then shove the creature into the back of the van, and Giles drives off. Strickland soon arrives arrives at the gate, but he realizes that it's already too late. Filled with rage, he reprimands all the guards patrolling the area and begins a serious investigation into the matter. The next morning, Alyssa forges a new plan on how to set the amphibian man back into the ocean. She will wait until the October rains, when she can finally release him into the canals. Alyssa then writes a small note on her calendar to constantly remind her of the plan. As the days pass by, Alyssa slowly develops a romantic relationship with the creature. She, along with Zelda and Hofstetler, also continue working their night shifts, pretending it's business as usual. One night, Strickland calls in Alyssa and Zelda for questioning, but it turns out to be just a formality, and he soon dismisses them. Strickland is convinced that the creature was abducted by highly trained agents and not simple cleaning staff. Meanwhile, the amphibian man continues living a difficult life in Giles's apartment. He spends the majority of the day inside the bathtub and eats whatever is given to him. The creature is not accustomed to the human world, so one day he ends up devouring Giles's pet cat. This infuriates the old man and he snaps at the creature, but the latter retaliates by scratching his arms. Back at Occam, Hofstetler continues helping the girls by giving them care packages. Alyssa also tells him about her plan to release the creature and thanks him for everything. Weeks pass by, and Alyssa as well as Giles get emotionally attached to the amphibian man. Alyssa because she wants to bone him in the bath, and Giles because he likes being scratched on his arms. The creature even tries to make it right with Giles for eating his pet cat. He places his hand on the man's head and magically heals the scratch wounds.
Oh, I liked them!
The next morning, when Giles wakes up, he notices new hair growing on his bald spot. One afternoon, Alyssa floods her apartment with water so that the amphibian man can swim and breathe more easily. It is obvious that there is a strong romantic bond between them, and they eventually end up making love. Sweet hot mutant dolphin love. October finally arrives, and Alyssa realizes the docks have started to fill up with rainwater. The amphibian man is also struggling, as he has been away from his natural habitat for far too long. Back at Occam, Strickland has failed to find any substantial leads even after weeks since the abduction. He eventually gets a 36-hour ultimatum from the general to find the creature or lose his job. This pushes the chief of security into a furious search for any clues regarding the missing amphibian man. His search finally yields some results when he begins following Hofstetler. One afternoon, he overhears the scientist making plans for a meeting at an unspecified location. So he secretly follows him there and sees Hofstetler meet with foreign nationals that the government has identified as spies. Strickland finally connects the dots and realizes that the scientist is actually a Russian spy. So he sneaks up to their little meeting and kills everyone except Hofstetler. He then tortures the scientist for information about the amphibian man. Eventually, Strickland learns that it was the cleaning staff who had managed to fool him and release the creature. After discovering this information, Strickland goes to Zelda's residence to inquire about it. The janitor is unwilling to betray her friend, but the cruel guy forces her husband to spill all the beans. Now he knows that Alyssa is going to release the creature from the city's docks today. Therefore, he rushes to her apartment, leaving Zelda and her husband injured, but unharmed. As soon as he departs, Zelda contacts her friend to inform her that Strickland is on his way. Alyssa and Giles thus begin their preparation to leave for the canals and release the amphibian man forever. Minutes after they leave, Strickland barges into the apartment. There, he notices the note marked on the calendar. He now knows the place where they are headed to and follows them to the site. Elsewhere, Alyssa and Giles reach the city's canals and bid the magnificent creature goodbye. But before he can dive into the water, Strickland arrives and shoots both the creature and Alyssa. This infuriates Giles, and he knocks Strickland down, providing the amphibian man with sufficient time to heal himself. He then slowly rises up and directs all his anger towards the man who had relentlessly tortured him for weeks. Strickland falls to his knees and admits the creature is a god. Nonetheless, the amphibian man slices his throat and kills him on the spot. He then takes an unconscious Alyssa and jumps into the canal. Once underwater, he applies his magical powers and heals her. He also puts his hand on Alyssa's neck, and her scars open to reveal gills, just like his. As the movie ends, a voiceover from Giles says that the amphibian man and Alyssa lived happily ever after. Subscribe for more videos like this, turn on notifications, and leave a like to help the channel out. Thank you for watching.